EnviroCare Global Community. Karibuni sana to today's episode. We are going to look at some of the opportunities that are presenting themselves in the face of climate change. And one of those opportunities is making sure that you can be able to rear chicken. And today we are looking at rearing layers in your homestead. Why is it an opportunity? It is an opportunity because this is something that you can control, you know? It's something that you can create. It's something that you can get despite what is going on around you in terms of climate change. You see, like unlike crops you have no control because you are depending on the rain. But for the layers or the chicken that you can keep, you can control. So come with me, let's learn together. How can you be able to ensure that you rear chickens, they give you eggs? Right now, the demand for eggs is so high. You go to shops, we don't have eggs, but the supply is very low. So let's learn together how you can be able to ensure you have this opportunity of rearing layers. Yeah, as you can see, this is something you are able to control because you need to make sure that the space where you are rearing your layers is enough for the chicken, for the layers. Usually or normally, what should happen is that per square meter, we should have 2 layers. The space is enough here. This is 300 layers, whereby we are getting 10 crates of eggs every single day. So you can imagine what usually happens here. An egg in the market costs around averagely between 15 to 18 shillings, or a tray of egg right now where I am, it's costing 500 shillings. So 500 shillings times 10, that is 5,000. This is something you are able to control. But before you reach there, making profits, what are you supposed to do to ensure that you have this production at an optimal level? Wacha tuangalie, what do you need to do? Number 1, you are supposed to make sure that you have a house, a chicken house. Let's just call it chicken house, where you will bring your chicks and start growing them. This chicken house, make sure that it's well ventilated. As you can see here, the farmer has ensured that the chicken is very well ventilated. And why is ventilation important? Layers produce a lot of heat, if you didn't know. So because of this heat, of course, we need proper ventilation, aeration, so that they can breathe well, ensure that we keep off the different diseases that affect our layers. Then from there, you make sure that they are well vaccinated, or you vaccinate them within a very short period once umezileta kwa the chicken house. We are just calling it the chicken house or the cage. Why? Because the diseases that affect the chicks or the chicken can destroy your chicken in one day. That's why sometimes you wake up in the morning, unapata layers zako zote zimekufa. So to make sure that you take care of that, make sure they are all vaccinated and make sure they are debeaked. And maybe Davis, you can show us debeaking. Ni kukata hii mdomo yake ya juu. Like now this one, ilishakatwa kitambo. You debeak them. Because now if you don't, it eat your eggs. And you know your eggs is where you are getting your profit from. So you debeak them. And even among them, the chicken themselves, they can pick on each other and injure each other, which is not a good thing for production. So you debeak them. After you have done that, make sure that now you feed them you give them growers mash. Growers mash help in the growth of the chicks. Yeah? Sasa unazilea to make sure that over time zitaanza kupatia mayai. Why do we need growers mash? For them to gain weight and to grow the right way. Another thing you need to do before they start laying is to measure the weight of your chick. Because the recommended weight is they start laying at 1.5 kgs. Now, if they are below 1.5 kgs, they will not give you the right production. And remember, your main goal is to make sure that we have maximum production or optimal production for maximum profits, so that every day you are able to get the eggs that you are looking for, or even the income that you'll get out of it will be able to reflect in the expenditure. You know, the input should reflect the output. So that is another area you need to look at. As you do all these, make sure the house is very clean, or the chicken cage is very clean. Why? Because lack of cleanliness, again, it's a very opportune moment or time for us to have the pests and diseases that will affect your flock. So we wouldn't like that to happen to you. So for you to ensure that you have maximum production, make sure your house is very clean. Have a dedicated time for that, to make sure that the house is very clean. Clean the house. Make sure again that the food you are giving your chicken is very fresh and clean. The water is equally very fresh and clean, and it has the right pH. Yeah, not too cold, not too hot. Why? Because chicken is very prone to stress, and a little stress like this will make them not produce the eggs that you are looking forward to. And remember, you have invested, you have built a house, you have, you know, bought all these growers mash. Now you are buying the layers mash to ensure that they are able to lay and reach the right weight. That part of weight, most people don't look at it keenly, but it affects production, because once it has not reached the right weight, it will not give you the good production that you are looking for. Then even at that moment where it's giving you production, you need to do daily monitoring. If you notice there's just a little stress like this, maybe because of change of weather, you need to come in and intervene, because that is when now the new diseases come in and they really infect your flock. You have invested so heavily, you lose them in one night, or just little by little, you lose them. But one thing you need to do is keep at it. Be very persistent, learn as you go, be very consistent in your actions. Like now, be dedicated to your chicken so that you are able to see the productivity at the end of it all. Another thing is you should avoid external interference, especially the person who is dedicated to taking care of the chicken should be very clean. The kind of clothes they are wearing inside, because infection really happens, or they are carried by clothes and even shoes. So at the entrance of the chicken house, make sure that you have a foot bath, whereby you make sure that whoever is coming to a chicken house, be it to collect eggs, be it to clean, be it to just maybe learn, must dip their legs or their feet inside the foot bath to make sure that whatever external diseases are out there, they don't carry them to your chicken. Be very selfish with your chicken so that you are able to realize production. You should ensure in your chicken house or cage is to make sure there is food, but don't supply food all the time. There is always a trick. Like now, these layers, they are given layers mash early in the morning when the chicken are up, that is 6 a.m. and at around 2. The reason why you should not supply food all the time is that you should create scarcity. When you create scarcity and they wake up and find there is food, they will run and make sure at least they get a portion. Once they get a portion, they'll be able to lay. But when you have supply of food all the time, your chicken will not be interested in food. And you see, you remember we talked about input and output. It's when they feed, that is when they're able to produce. So make sure you create that scarcity, so that at the end of it all, this chicken can be able to feed whenever there's food. Then from there, they're able to produce. But again, do not starve the chicken. Another thing that you should look at as a farmer who is rearing layers is the changes in climatic conditions. Sometimes it's very hot out there or very cold out there. You should be able to regulate and ensure that inside the cage, the temperature is constant to ensure there's production. For example, when it becomes too cold, have sawdust that is spread on the floor of the cage so that this will maintain a normal and constant temperature. Remember, we talked about stress. When chicken experiences stress, they're not able to produce optimally. So that is one way of ensuring that throughout the year, you are able to produce optimally and constantly for your eggs. And remember, the layers, they start laying at around 14 to 16 weeks. That is when the conditions are constant or the environment is constant. But cases whereby some of them just stay for long. They start laying at 20 weeks. Some even come, they're early maturing. They start laying at 13 weeks. So those are some of the things that you'll experience in between. There are some instances you wake up and you find your chicken looks like it has very weak legs. That is usually lack of calcium. What you need to do is that throughout the growing period of the chicken, monitor the kind of food you are giving it. Sometimes you think you are giving it grower's mash, yet the grower's mash is not complete in terms of balancing the diet of the chicken. So you need to monitor that. It's not sickness, it's lack of calcium. And ensure that you intervene, because once it lacks calcium, it's not able to grow the right way. It's not able to give you the eggs that you're looking forward to. Another thing is that when you are cleaning your chicken house, mostly what you are getting rid of is the chicken waste, what we call chicken droppings, which is very rich in manure. What does that mean? You can be able to take care of your crops very easily when you're having layers in your compound. It's very rich and very expensive in the market. So you can see the various benefits that come with rearing chicken, and especially layers. You have seen for yourself that this is something you can start in a small scale. You can start with 3 layers, you can start with 10 layers, you can start with 30 layers, you can start with 50 layers. And the good thing about rearing layers is that they don't take a lot of space. You can just start with the small space that you have. And another thing, this is not like crop farming that depends on rain-fed agriculture. This is something that you yourself can be able to control. And above it all, you are able to self-employ yourself, because there is no time food will go out of fashion. If we were to talk about fashion, you know, food is something that is needed every single day. You've been able to see for yourself how you can be able to participate in environmental sustainability. How? Maybe you're asking yourself. By taking care or rearing layers, you are able to provide food for yourself, employment for yourself. We've seen that some of the byproducts or the manure from chicken, it's very nutritious, very good for the soil. You know, this is organic. If you take this to your crops, you are able to equally harvest and realize optimal production in your farm. So you see, you are taking care of the soil indirectly or directly by rearing the layers that we are able to see. Yeah, and this is something you cannot be able to do. You know, it's a drop in the ocean, someone else is doing it, and collectively, if we all focus on various aspects of taking care of the environment, we are going to achieve the goal that we are looking out for. And another thing is that our population is continuously increasing. What does that mean? The demand for food, and especially for eggs, is increasing every single day. So if you are seated there and you've been asking yourself, what kind of business can I start? This is one of the low-lying fruits that you can easily start. Just with a simple chicken cage, you start from there and you're able to grow. And there's a saying that I usually like, a journey of 1,000 miles start with one single step. But before we conclude, make sure that you subscribe, like, and share so that we can learn together. My name is Rose Gishure. This is the EnviroCare Global Show.